Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're continuing our series on the most intense chapters of the Vietnam War. Specifically, we are looking at perhaps one of the most unique and terrifying units in the US Army, the tunnel rats. These soldiers were tasked with a nightmare mission, hunting Viet Cong guerrillas inside their own massive subterranean tunnel networks. How did these men fight? What tricks did the Vietnamese use against them? And why did this unit suffer such a high casualty rate? Let's find out. The tunnel systems actually originated during the war against the French, but they were vastly expanded and improved once the American invasion began. Most of these tunnels were dug by local peasants using simple hoes and baskets. They dug into laterite clay, a soil that is soft and malleable in the rainy season but dries as hard as concrete. The tunnels were engineering marvels. They were never dug in straight lines. Instead, they constantly zigzagged at angles between 60 and 120 degrees. This was done to block the blast waves of grenades and prevent bullets from traveling down the length of the passage. The systems had multiple levels, separated by watertight trapdoors to protect against flooding and gas. These trapdoors were almost invisible. An American soldier could reach a dead end, never realizing that behind a hidden panel lay access to vast underground complexes containing kitchens, field hospitals, ammo dumps, workshops, and latrines. Ventilation was key. Shafts ran from the surface to the first level, camouflaged to look like anthills or tree stumps. Some faced east to catch the breeze, while others relied on airflow physics to keep the tunnels cool. Yet, even in the best conditions, it was dark, suffocatingly hot, and incredibly claustrophobic. The Viet Cong even had to create temporary graveyards within the walls, entombing their fallen comrades behind thin layers of clay when it was too dangerous to bury them on the surface. For the Americans, the guerrillas seemed to vanish into thin air, only to pop up elsewhere. Bombing the tunnels proved ineffective, so the US command realized they needed to send men down there. The first tunnel rat units were formed within the 25th Infantry Division. They realized quickly that you couldn't just order anyone into a hole. It required a specific type of volunteer, someone with a steady temperament, sharp intelligence, extreme caution, and immense bravery. Physically, they had to be slim and short to navigate the narrow squeeze points. Before entering, the entrance was swept for booby traps. The rat usually had a rope tied to his ankle so his squad could drag him out if things went wrong. It was grueling, nerve-wracking work. Imagine crawling for hours in pitch blackness, knowing an enemy is waiting for you. The psychological strain was immense. Some men broke down, pulled from the earth weeping and hyperventilating. Tragically, there were cases where a tunnel rat would emerge from a distant exit, covered in mud, only to be shot by friendly troops who mistook him for a Viet Cong fighter. In terms of gear, they traveled light. Standard issue was a pistol, usually the M1911 Colt, a knife, and a flashlight. However, many preferred revolvers, like the .38 Special, because they were less likely to jam in the dirt. There are even stories of soldiers using personal weapons, like a vintage German Luger. Silencers were highly valued because firing a gun in a confined space was deafening. Down there, you had to listen to every scratch and breath. Danger was everywhere. Aside from enemy soldiers, the tunnels were rigged with tripwires, mines, and grenades. Then there was the biological warfare, boxes filled with scorpions or venomous snakes, and punji stakes covered in toxins or excrement. By the way, I have a separate video on the channel dedicated entirely to Vietnam War traps. I highly recommend checking that out. While some Americans tried wearing gas masks, most abandoned them. They limited visibility, muffled hearing, and made breathing even harder in the thin air. The primary mission was to neutralize the enemy and gather intel, maps, or documents. Once a sector was cleared, they would set C4 charges to collapse the network for good. The war didn't end when they left the tunnels. Many veterans suffered long-term health effects from Agent Orange, which pooled in the soil and contaminated the air underground. Service as a tunnel rat was one of the most dangerous jobs in the U.S. Army, with an incredibly high mortality rate. Yet their bravery was undeniable, and they earned immense respect from their peers. Friends, thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more history. See you next time.